Have you ever wondered where Tyre is today? In ancient times, Tyre was one of the richest and most influential cities in the region, a hub of maritime trade, famous for its ships, artisans, and purple fabrics. The city that the Bible said would be overthrown and have its materials thrown into the sea is located in southern Lebanon and goes by the name of Tyre. If you open the map, you'll notice something curious. A strip of land juts out into the sea, as if the coastline had stepped into the Mediterranean. When we get there, we realize right away, this isn't a work of nature. It's the ancient island of Tyre, which over time joined the mainland and became a peninsula. And today, above it, there is real life. Houses, crowded streets, children going to school, wooden boats in the harbor, and crowded cafes in the late afternoon. In other words, the place of the prophecy hasn't remained frozen in time. Tyre is alive, and the incredible thing is that biblical history still breathes in every corner of this city. Now, it's worth paying attention to the edges of this peninsula. On calm days and clear water, lines of rock appear just below the surface. Straight lines, corners, platforms. They don't look like natural formations. They look like ancient human work, associated with breakwaters and port structures that, with coastal changes, became partially submerged. On cloudy days, the water disappears from view. When it clears, it reappears. The bottom doesn't disappear. Visibility varies. It's the kind of thing anyone can spot without a guide. Just walk along the shore, watch the changing color of the water in the shallower areas, and notice the precise angles down below. On dry land, Tyre boasts two archaeological sites that demonstrate the city's continuity after the Phoenician era. The first is Albas. You enter through a high stone arch, walk along a Roman road marked by ancient wheels, pass a vast necropolis filled with stone and marble sarcophagi, and arrive at a long hippodrome with well-defined curves. The second is Almina, right next to the sea, with colonnades, pavements, and baths from the Roman and Byzantine periods. Nothing there is a fabricated scene. These are real ruins from later layers. This explains why, walking through Tyre, the impression is Roman in many places. The Phoenician period is older. After the great transformations, the city continued to operate under other empires, with different architecture and uses. The shape of the coast helps us understand half the story without a single word. It's as if, at some point in the past, someone had pushed a large amount of stone into the sea until it touched the island's ancient wall. In short, this is the current situation. Tyre is modern-day Tyre. The former island has become a peninsula, and on top of it, life goes on as normal. That alone connects the dots in your head. You look at the peninsula and wonder, how did this island stick together? You see rocks at the bottom and wonder, why did so much stuff end up in the sea? Walk through Albaz and Almina and realize the city didn't end, it continued. The Bible serves as an objective anchor here. In 1 Kings 5, King Hiram of Tyre sends cedar timber and craftsmen to Solomon's temple, a passage that demonstrates the partnership and technical expertise of the Tyrians. Later, in Ezekiel 26, comes the warning of judgment. Tyre would be demolished, scraped like bare rock, and its materials would be thrown into the sea. Today, without needing to force anything, the landscape itself helps us understand the whole. A glued-together island, rock in the background, ruins from another era on land. There's no need to imagine too much. It's plain to see. It's worth going back in time to understand who the Tyros were, how they lived, what they believed, why they considered themselves untouchable, and what happened until the island lost the protection of the water. This background gives meaning to what we see today and explains why Tyre became a powerful symbol in ancient texts. Who were the targets? Commerce, port, religion, customs, and trust became targets. Tyre was one of the most important cities in Phoenicia, a group of coastal cities along the eastern Mediterranean. The Phoenician manual was simple and powerful, sailing, trading, and establishing trading posts wherever possible. The Tyrians dominated sea routes, founded colonies, and struck deals that guaranteed profit and security. The most famous colony to emerge from the Tyrian Empire was Carthage in North Africa, which later became an empire in its own right. This network produced products everyone wanted: glass, metal objects, fabrics, wine, olive oil, and high-quality cedar wood. But the item that became the city's signature product was Tyrian purple, a rare and extremely expensive purple dye made from the murex, a small mollusk. The process was slow, requiring thousands of shells and tanks to extract the pigment, and leaving a strong odor in the processing area. The result, however, was pure luxury, with purple fabrics worn by kings and nobles. This brought prestige and wealth, and established shooting as synonymous with premium products and high-value intermediation. Geography played in its favor. Tyre occupied an area on the mainland and an area on the island, very close to the coast, with walls that practically jutted out into the sea. The island had two natural harbors, one facing north and one facing south. This configuration gave it an advantage in any dispute. If an army arrived by land, authority and vital activities could move quickly to the island, protected by water and fleet. Sea walls hindered the use of siege towers and battering rams, and ships defended the harbor entrances. In practice, Tyre functioned as a commercial fortress, difficult to conquer and excellent for negotiating from a position of strength. In religion, Tyre followed the Phoenician pantheon. Three names sum up the essence: Melkart, the god-king, protector of the city, and linked to navigation and royalty; Baal, associated with power and weather; and Astarte, linked to fertility and war. There were temples, festivals, and rites. Ancient sources mention child sacrifices among the Phoenicians, with strongest evidence in Carthage, in extreme situations, dedicated to deities such as Baal and Melkart. In the specific case of Tyre, this accusation appears in ancient texts. From an archaeological perspective, directly in the mother city, the topic is debated. It doesn't have the same amount of material as that found in Carthage. There are also accounts of ancient fertility rituals performed in some Phoenician temples, which changed according to the time and place. The point here isn't to sensationalize, but rather to contextualize a harsh, competitive, and religious ancient world with practices we now reject without hesitation. And this helps us understand why. In biblical texts, Tyre appears sometimes as a technical partner, supplying cedar and artisans for Solomon's temple in 1 Kings 5, and at other times as a target of criticism for pride and overconfidence in one's own defenses and wealth, as in Ezekiel 26. Tyre also had a reputation for engineering excellence. They knew how to cut and transport large blocks of stone, build breakwaters, organize docks, and produce reliable ships for long voyages. This combination of wealth, natural defense, and technical skill fostered a strong sense of purpose, the impression that nothing could surpass them. This trait appears in biblical texts as pride. The prophetic message didn't just target customs, it targeted a posture of invincibility. In Ezekiel 26, the image is direct. Tyre would be overthrown, scraped bare like rock, and its remains thrown into the sea. To those who lived there, with 2 ports, sea walls, and full coffers, this seemed unlikely, and indeed, it wasn't something that happened overnight. The turnaround came in stages, with successive external pressures that gradually undermined the city's security. The first major pressure that history records with force was the Babylonian siege in the 6th century BC, during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II. It was a long one. Ancient sources speak of years of continuous tension. Tradition usually mentions something like 13 years. The mainland of Tyre suffered greatly. The island resisted, supported by the sea and the fleet. The city did not fall to assault on that occasion, but it emerged wounded and weakened, paying the price of subjugation and attrition. Still, the island nucleus remained the heart of Tyre, with strong walls and functioning ports. It was the city saying, "We are still here." It was in this format that Tyre entered the path of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC. The Macedonian general demanded the island cities surrender. The answer was no. From there, the decision that changed the geography was made, connecting the coast to the island with stone. From here, it's worth understanding how this connection was built, why it worked, and what forever changed the region's geography. Exactly the design you see today on the map of Saur, the connection that became a peninsula. What Tyre preserves in 3 layers, and how this relates to the Bible. When the island city of Tyre refused to Alexander in 332 BC, he chose the boulder route, building an embankment into the sea, reaching the wall. The idea was simple, but the work was enormous. construction began in the shallowest areas, where blocks could be laid with less effort. To prevent the embankment from being carried away by the currents, the team needed to widen the base and reinforce the advanced sections. From within, the defenders attacked the construction site with fire and projectiles. The response was to erect towers on the stone strip itself, protecting the workers and pushing siege engines ever closer. At the same time, the campaign had naval support. It was a meter by meter, forcible advance until the water barrier lost its strength and the wall came within range of the naval forces. When this happened, the insular fire department fell. The strip of stone wasn't removed. It remained there. Nature, which works slowly, took this rock spine and glued sand to both sides. Currents and winds did the work over the centuries. This is how the tombolo was born, a connection that began as human and ended as natural, until it became solid ground. The result? The former island became a peninsula. The city lost its former military advantage, but continued to exist under new owners and new styles. That's why the ruins you step on today in Albas and Almina are primarily from Roman and Byzantine times, later layers of a Tyre that remained alive, albeit different. Interestingly, today's Tyre can be read in 3 layers at once. The first is the living layer: sour, compost, shops, schools, beach, traffic, families. The second layer is the earthen ruins, which demonstrates the continuity after the fall of the insular redoubt. Streets, arches, necropolis, hippodrome, colonnades. The third is the submerged layer, more discreet, where straight lines and corners in the shallow seabed reveal construction remains along the edge of the peninsula. As we mentioned at the beginning, seeing this third layer depends on the sea. When the water is clear, the alignments appear. When it's cloudy, they disappear from view. This 3-in-1 reading is what makes Tyre a rare case. You can see the city that exists in the same place, the city that existed in another time, and the city that was partially left in the background. If this video helped you see shooting differently, like it, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss future stories. Comment below. Which part impacted you most? The peninsula, the ruins on land, or the underwater structures? Your opinion will greatly help the channel grow. God bless you and your home. May He grant you wisdom, peace, and protection in every step. Until the next video!